Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the entitled People subreddit from Uncle Barnacle, who says, I 26 female kicked my soon-to-be ex-friend 25 female out of my house. As the title says, last week I kicked out what I thought was a good friend out of my house because I can no longer handle her antics. I just want to write it here just to de-stress and deal with the grief of losing a friend. Kendall, 25 female, and I met in university in 2016. We studied different majors, but we're from the same department, so we share many classes together and bonded over our passion for gaming and memes. Nice. Upon graduation, Kendall moved back to her hometown due to COVID and found a job there. We kept in touch online through Instagram. About 3 years later, Kendall told me she found a better paying job in the city, so she's planning to move out from her parents' place. When I asked her about her plans on her accommodations, she replied with, "That's the thing. I was going to ask if you have an extra bedroom that I could move into." For context, I've inherited an apartment from my late grandfather, which is a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath near the city centre, last year January. I currently live alone there since it's closer to my workplace, and it has all the convenience of public transport. After some thinking, I thought there's no harm in living with Kendall since I consider this as close friends. We discussed the terms and of course the rent. A week later, Kendall moved into my apartment. It was great at first. My home felt more lively than usual, and the thought of going home to a close friend warmed my heart and gave me a sense of security. Things were okay for a while, and then shit goes downhill super quick. Kendall started complaining about many things at home, about her work, her savings, and how she feels homesick. At first, I was very accommodating, thinking maybe she just needs time to get used to the city life. I offered as much help as I can, even to the point of, if she's low on money, I don't mind voiding a month's rent if it meant I could help her to achieve financial stability. I taught her how I save money, how I live off with my then low salary with several commitments like my car, my dog, and a student loan. I grew up where my parents expect me to be independent, so I told her things I do when I'm low on cash, how to get freelance jobs, etc. But she always seems to have excuses for every suggestion I have. Finding a freelance job is too hard, or how she couldn't let go of her premium junk food, as she isn't willing to cook or meal prep, and I eventually decided to leave it as it is. And after 2 months of living together, I realized Kendall started treating me as some kind of competition. She would constantly ask me things like how much money I make a month, how many job hoppings did that take, anything that she thinks she's better than me. She had definitely popped that question. She boasts about how she is loyal to her shitty paying company and how I would never be able to move up the corporate ladder, as she called me an industry frog. She once snooped my savings balance and asked how the fuck did I have so much saved up with commitments, etc. Mind you, she didn't have a lot of commitments since her parents paid off her student loans and fully paid off a brand new car for her. Maybe I should stop collecting rent from her. I got mad and told her if she isn't happy living with me, maybe she should move out. Cue crocodile tears, and she said it was a joke. I didn't have to take her seriously. She begged for forgiveness and promised to never snoop my personal items and details again. I let it go once, but she kept bringing up things like, well, you have cash and a credit card. Every time I told her I'd rather stay home because I no longer have the budget to go out and have fun. Comments like these became more frequent when I got a new job 6 months ago. On top of that, she doesn't clean up after herself. Tried to flirt with my boyfriend, and at times parked in my parking space when our initial agreement was that she had to find her own parking space if she's moving in with her own car, because my apartment only has one parking lot per unit. The straw that broke the camel's back was when I caught her kicking my dog in his abdomen when I got home from work. I yelled at her and rushed to check my dog. Luckily he was fine, but I still rushed him to the vet for safety measures. I got home and she sneered that it was just a dog, and as a friend, I shouldn't treat her like that. I asked why she kicked my dog and she didn't answer me. She shrugged and tried to escape to her room. At this point, it was already about a year since Kendall moved in with me. I lost my cool and told her off, bringing up her problems and how how I tried to be nice and accommodating. Then I told her I'm giving her a week to move out, and that from then on, I'd rather we keep our relationship casual, or we don't ever talk at all. Kendall cried and begged me not to kick her out, but soon it turned into her screaming back at me, calling me a bad friend because apparently in her words, I didn't tell her off on how badly she was behaving. Like, what the fuck? There was a lot of back and forth, which I don't remember what I said, but I remember eventually calling her an entitled brat. She cried again, saying it was uncalled for, and stormed off to her room. The next day, I was bombarded with texts from other uni friends, some calling me selfish and others sympathized with me. Apparently, Kendall posted our argument on Facebook and Instagram, painting me to be the bad guy. I was upset at first, but I decided that after Kendall moved out, we would no longer be friends, as well as those who took her side of the story and condemned me. Last week, Kendall left, and I've changed the locks on my apartment. I curled up in bed and cried myself out, probably from the sadness of losing a friend, or maybe I'm finally letting out all the frustrations. I am definitely still grieving about this loss of a friend, as I've had many good times with Kendall. But now I want to focus on myself, and hopefully I'll eventually get over this. Edit, the whole teasing that I have more money than Kendall got, and worse when I told her I was given an offer by an MNC as a senior designer, and I disclosed her the offered salary, as we always did, like I know how much she earns too, which was about 50% more than hers. That was dumb on my part. I now understand why my parents told me to never disclose/discuss salaries the moment I started working. Typical of Kendall to be posting this on social media. I'd be switching that narrative very quickly, telling people about her kicking your dog. I'm not a violent person, but if someone kicked Poppy, my foot would be splitting their cheeks. Someone in the comments suggested doing similar. Anonymous Rooster says, if I were you, I'd be telling everyone she was hurting your dog. That would probably swing some opinions real quick. And I wonder how much she's been doing this in the background as well, if that was just the first time. You know, it's very unlikely, I think, but I hope your response to that saying, I did, but some still call me an arsehole for kicking a poor girl who has travelled far from her hometown out in a big city. I got off fine, but why can't she? Potential Frame says to OP, also time to step back for just a moment. Your so-called friend had no student loans and a brand new car. She has parents who can help her out. They created this puppy kicking monster. They can deal with her. You gave her plenty of opportunities to play nice. You don't owe her squat. Hold your head high, you're a wonderful person. Opie says, yet I don't understand where her money went. Her wallets are always empty near the end of the month. She once showed me her savings balance, which was 2 digits. She was asking if I could lend her money. Luckily I didn't lend her any, but that's probably why she was angry at me for a week. Lol. Locked Out says, this type hates being told no. They often seek revenge. If they put a fraction of that energy into working for what they wanted, they'd be in great shape. May you think of her no more and enjoy your life. Opie says exactly what I thought. There were so many other things and ways she could have a workaround to be stable financially. It's true, I probably didn't have to collect rent from her, but I was glad I did. Even if it wasn't a year's worth. I spent so much for that thorough checkup of my boy after she kicked him. Frida says she should have been out on her ass as soon as she was caught kicking the dog. Opie says the moment I saw that, I felt as if the Holy Trinity left me, and I've never found myself so angry. Unusual Potato replies saying, makes you wonder how long she's been abusing your dog for. What a psycho. Opie says from the checkups and with my vet's assurance, it seems that her kicking my dog was the first time she ever tried to hurt my dog. I don't have cams at home, so even if there is, I only have the checkup and scans as proof. NTG? I can't work out what that stands for. Has been done to hurt my little doggo. So OP came in with her update and said, hello everyone, I'm here with some updates about me and my doggo, as well as my now ex-friend Kendall. Let's start off with the update about myself. I've been doing well, and surprisingly, as some of you mentioned previously, I'd gotten over the loss of this friendship rather quickly. My boyfriend planned a trip to a pet-friendly beachfront hotel, and I spent a few days with just my boyfriend and doggo. We played in the seawater and I watched my dog play in the sand. Overall, had a great time, and we even had grilled fish together while watching the sunset. Doggo had a deboned fish fillet. I am also grateful for my friends who stood by my side regarding this issue. They check in on me from time to time and sent me funny content to watch during my free time. Some of them even told me their stories about Kendall and their discontentment with their behavior, which I will list some below. Friend A. Kendall ridiculed friend A several times because friend A earned less than Kendall despite he worked a year longer than Kendall. Friend B. Kendall trash-talked friend B's company via Instagram just because Kendall flunked their interview with said company with flying colors. Friend C. Kendall always demands friend C to be a personal driver during our college days. If friend C refuses, Kendall will guilt trip her. Friend D. Ruined friend D's assignment by pranking him. She actually formatted his laptop when the project was due in 2 weeks. When confronted, all Kendall said was, "Oopsies." There are many more, but these are the more icky ones that I've heard from my friends. And now with that out of the way, here is today's main course. After I kicked Kendall out of my house, one of my uni friends, let's call her Anne, stood by Kendall's version of events and has allowed Kendall to move in with her instead. Anne called me out of the blue this afternoon, and her first question to me was, "How on earth did you manage to put up with Kendall for a year? She's driving me crazy." Long story short, whatever Kendall did when she's living with me, she now does it to Anne. Snooping Anne's personal items, leaving dirty laundry around, generally being a prick in the butt. Anne told me she's planning to force Kendall out of her house too. I didn't comment much since Anne were among those who called me a cruel person, but now it has come back to bite her. But wait, that's not all. According to Anne, Kendall lost her job because she tried to ask for a 100% increment and assaulted her supervisor when the increment requested was turned down 2 weeks ago. She was immediately escorted out of the office building by security, and she just texted me 20 minutes ago saying she needed a favor from me and that she wants a job at my workplace. I replied stating there isn't any vacancy. To be honest, even if there is, I wouldn't hire her. Lol. So yeah, I hope this is the last time I will hear from Kendall, and I'll only update if somehow something interesting happened that involves Kendall. I have to read this comment from It's All Mine Now, who quotes OP saying, "Anne told me she's planning to force Kendall out of her house too," and then says, "How in the ever-loving world did you not reply? Wouldn't that be cruel though?" OP says, "I went with a sarcastic tone of, 'Oh wow, really? What happened?'" Oh, I absolutely love the pettiness. To be a fly on the wall in Anne's home right now, it'd be pretty spicy, right? But imagine her phoning you up after all this, trying to get a favor from you, trying to get a job from you. The absolute audacity. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. And our next story is from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. It does have an update as well from Tardus Breaks Left On, who says, "Am I the arsehole for not leaving the bathroom when a child needed it?" Everybody, this sounds kind of stupid to me, but maybe my perspective is wrong. My friend / roommate, male 30s, who we can call Kevin, has an 11-year-old daughter who we can call Rachel. For context purposes, she has no physical disabilities or bladder control issues. She doesn't live with us full time, but she does come every other weekend, and some weekends for visitation. Every time she does, she's always expecting people to do a lot of stuff for her that she could do herself, as my dad will carry my stuff / get my drinks, plate of food, give me some of his drink, or food after I finish mine because he loves me. This came to the point where Kevin actually finally told her last night that she can stop colouring for long enough to get her own water. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 1 bathroom. When I, female 20s, went in the morning to brush my teeth, Rachel came over and said she needed to use the bathroom. I told her to wait and that she can't try to kick me out every time she wants to pee. This was at least the 4th time she's done so this weekend. Kevin tried to tell me that I should leave so that she can use the bathroom because using the toilet takes priority over everything else. To be clear, she came in while I was already in the process and not asking once she saw me. She waited for a maximum of 2.5 minutes. Once I was out, Kevin and I had a brief discussion in which he expressed that he felt it was inappropriate for me to make either him or Rachel wait, and I was not physically using the toilet. My stance is that If someone is doing a short task, they are there first, and it is not an emergency. They should wait their turn. This seemed to be the common rule of shared bathrooms to me, but maybe I was wrong. Am I the arsehole? Opie adds additional information and says that a friend of mine that thought it was important to mention was already in the process of brushing my teeth when she came over and asked me to leave. She said that she didn't have to go badly, but she did notice that she had to go when she heard me going in, which significant stage replies to saying she sounds like a manipulative little girl. She and her daddy can get a grip and learn to be better roommates, and I would shut and lock the door each time and would ignore any knocks no matter what I was doing in there. Did she even say good morning? Would you mind if I used the restroom real fast? Ugh. Raising a kid no one will want to be around. If this guy is more than a friend/roommate to you, I say you're in for a long, bumpy ride. And Samantha says if it was the fourth time, it's a power play and she's testing your limits. She has decided that she needs to know how much you will get away with bossing you around. It's also a sign as to her dad's power. Who is the alpha in the house? She's hoping dad because it elevates his status in her eyes. I raised 2 kids to adulthood and we were the hangout house. I spent time figuring them out. Yes, they will try to play you, but it's not a malicious thing. She's not manically rubbing her hands together figuring out how she can mess with you. She likely doesn't even know what she's doing, and if you challenged her, she'd honestly be confused. But that's what it is. Assert your status with body language and action without a direct verbal challenge. You won't win an argument. There isn't maturity for self-evaluation. Shutting and locking the door blocks her. So OP did update their post and said, "Hi everyone, I want to thank the people that responded to my post. Some of you were greatly concerned about the situation that I was living in and mentioned that my roommate was taking advantage of me. You were right. He was told in no uncertain terms that he was to leave within 30 days after he had not paid rent yet again. We tried conversations, but they all turned back on how after months of not stepping up to the plate of shared responsibilities, it was my fault somehow. He claimed that it was because he spent too much money on feeding himself, myself and Rachel that he could not pay rent. But I feed myself on about $50 a week with a fairly healthy diet. He claimed that he could not help clean much because he was too exhausted from his job. But I used to do something similar and I cleaned after myself and my mum. She was sick and could not do much. He claimed that everything was my way or the highway and that I never listened to him, right after admitting that I was always supportive, encouraging and ready to listen. He claimed that I was making his life difficult. When he was told to leave, he behaved like he was an angry teenager being grounded. He tried to say that he was going to get lawyers involved. Although by law where I am, I only had to give him 2 weeks, since he had procrastinated for so long on signing the lease that he was only able to sign as a co-signer and not a tenant. The extra 2 weeks he received were not required. He said I've made his life awful ever since his daughter was diagnosed with diabetes. And for context, I had to do most of the parent-type conversations on following house rules because he was too overwhelmed. If I did not want to be tripping over her things, stepping on her toys, picking up her food, garbage and more, then I had to ask. Otherwise, he would just ask her to do it, then sit idly by as nothing changed an hour later. That was just me trying to survive the time she was there. He said that I was heartless and cruel for making him homeless and on the holidays. I ruined his life. Even though he cared about me, I clearly did not care about him, and I was just like everyone else. He hoped I was happy. He was glad I was alone and told me, good luck paying rent now. The point is, you were right. You were so right, and your encouragements to do better for myself than being in this situation were a massive help in making him leave. I had a severe medical emergency recently, and when I came home alone, I was reminded of how much happier I will always be without all of that going on in my life. So thank you, all of you. You saw more of who he was in 5 minutes than I did in years of friendship. With your kindness and the support of a friend of mine who stayed on the phone with me during his tantrum to help me stay strong, I'm finally free. Happy young woman, ready to resume my adventures in this world. When he commented that you're just like everyone else, it sort of gave me a little bit of a clue to his history there. I always find it sad, especially with children, because, you know, his entitlement is clearly going to rub off on his daughter. And I always find that heartbreaking because what kind of life? And look, I don't know things might change. She might grow up absolutely fine, but you know, these kind of things do rub off on their children, don't they? I hope things do work out for the daughter, and I can imagine how OP must be feeling free now. Like they said, it just took 5 minutes of reading OP's story to see, yeah, you know, you're not absolutely not on the wrong in this situation, but to OP, who's living the experience, who's being, you know, somewhat manipulated by the people around her, it's got to be difficult, isn't it? But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.